All right, guys, welcome back to the channel, and I'm so excited to share this video with you guys. This is not going to be like any other things you need to know video that you can find on YouTube, because I'm not going to be sharing Googleable facts or a top 10 list of things you need to know about Minnesota, but rather I'm going to show you guys some applicable things like activities and things that the locals know about that you can implement into your day-to-day life to genuinely arrive at the end of this video on whether you think Minnesota makes sense for you or not. Real quick before we get to number one, I just want to ask you guys sincerely to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things genuinely push me to continue making great content just like this and ultimately make your life easier. All right, hopping right into number one. So the coolest thing about Minnesota, in my opinion, and I hear this a lot from people who leave Minnesota, especially my friends, is that they really undervalue the weight of the seasons. And so obviously in Minnesota, if you watch enough of these videos, you're gonna hear 1,400 times about our winters. And that's totally fine. There's actually a video that I'll link below where you can hear all about our winters. But in this video, I wanna talk more specifically about the broad range, because you can get a lot of info on the winters. No one talks about the falls or the springs, right? And actually the autumn months, right? From maybe let's call it September, and here we get colder a little earlier. So maybe let's say December 1st, we actually have the most beautiful fall season. And I'm about to share some of the great things that you can do with your family or by yourself, or even to meet new people in that fall season, so you actually have something to look forward to when relocating to Minnesota. So one of my favorite things to do, especially if you're here with your family, is going to Applejack's Apple Orchard. It's a super fun little apple orchard, just about 20 minutes outside of downtown Minneapolis, straight west. And they've got everything you could ever want to do with your kids, right? They've got a corn maze, they've got apple picking, they have a ton of desserts like apple ice cream and apple pie. It's just a great fun thing to do. Good way to get outside in the morning and get to see what the seasons actually look like from a produce and visual level. Another great thing to do in the fall is if you're looking to stay in the cities, there's something called the Zombie Pub Crawl down in Northeast Minneapolis. We have a great nightlife scene here in Minneapolis. You know, St. Paul is known for being a little more quiet, but Minneapolis definitely has, you know, the buzzing restaurants and bars that you'd be looking for if you want to have a fun night on the town. And this weekend's usually a couple weekends. Second weekend of October, I believe, is the Zombie Pub Crawl. Everyone dresses up, and it's a great way to see the city, meet people, and just get a feel for what Minneapolis is all about. On top of that, some of the hiking in the fall is incredible. We have over 60 state parks with hiking trails weaving all throughout them. I highly recommend heading up to Duluth. I believe they even have a train ride that takes you through some of the hills of Duluth, and you can see all the changing leaves. It's just a really fun day trip. Anything you can do with your family for a fun weekend to really capitalize on the fall is really what this video is all about. So that's one thing I'd also recommend checking out. Little bonus thing, and this one definitely adheres to me as a sports fan, is US Bank Stadium. If you can get to a Vikings game in the fall, I mean, the city's always lively, and the Vikings fans, as you probably know, if you've seen like the Skol chants, they are very, very excited and enthusiastic for our purple and gold. So get out to US Bank Stadium. It's an architectural masterpiece, a great place to enjoy a game and maybe a drink. Getting into number two of things you need to know is that Minneapolis has amazing parks and trails. And I actually won't even cut out St. Paul on that one either. Minneapolis and St. Paul both rank within the top 5 across the entire country for park and trail quality. Also kind of a fun little stat, 98% of homeowners in Minneapolis and St. Paul are within 10 minutes walking distance to a park. My personal favorites are Gold Medal Park, right in the Gold Medal district of downtown Minneapolis. Also Boom Island Park, just on the other side of the Mississippi. Those are beautiful, well-maintained parks with things around them. So from where I'm at in Plymouth, it's about a 20-minute drive, but I can go down there and stay there for the day, knowing that I can work from the park, and whenever I need anything, it's within walking distance. So the third thing that you guys need to know about the Minneapolis Twin Cities area is that we have one of the most underappreciated food scenes in the world. We've got a great balance of dining on the lake. Obviously, we're the land of 10,000 of them. So there's great lakeside eateries like Maynard's or Charlie's on Pryor, or you could hang out in the city, and we've got plenty of rooftop dineries to enjoy where you're overlooking the skyline, perfect for a date or just getting to know your city. And if you want the full picture of all my favorite places to grab a bite to eat in the Minneapolis area, I've got a full video on that in the link in my description. So thing to know number 4 is going to be about our lake life here in Minnesota. So you always hear we're the land of 10,000 lakes, but what does that actually mean? And how do you optimize it as someone who's moving to Minnesota? So in Minnesota, you've got up north lakes, you've got city lakes, and then you've got suburb lakes, and they're all enjoyed very, very differently. So my goal here is to kind of let you see how you can enjoy them and what activities you can enjoy at each one. So starting with the up north lakes, in the Brainerd Lakes area is one perfect example of a lake community that pretty much every native Minnesotan gathers around during the summer times. Whether you have a cabin up there or not, they have some great options on Airbnb, and it's just a 2-hour drive from the Minneapolis metro area and a great way to actually truly unhinge from the city life and do some fishing, hunting, sightseeing, etc. The next type of lakes I want to touch on are the city lakes. So if you pull up a map of Minneapolis, you'll see that just south of Minneapolis in the Uptown neighborhood, we have a chain of a few lakes stretching south across the Minneapolis border. Those lakes aren't really enjoyed the same way that you would the up north lakes. They're not really known for their fishing necessarily. A lot of them are more so just like a public beach vibe, but there's great things to do around those lakes. Lots of walking, lots of biking. A couple of them even had sand volleyball leagues that you can join. So definitely the city version of enjoying the water with the city lakes. Last but definitely not least is my favorite of the lake variations, which is the suburb lakes. This is where you kind of enjoy a happy medium of the other two that I just described. The most famous suburb lake is obviously going to be Lake Minnetonka. It is massive. If you're interested in seeing what an ocean looks like, just Google Lake Minnetonka, and you'll see a bunch of little islands and fun things where people like to jet ski, but there's also walking trails, and there's also eateries where you can pull up right to the dock. It's just a great life to live and something I genuinely recommend being close to if you're relocating to the cities. And if you like looking at beautiful houses, feel free to pull up Zillow and look at homes on Lake Minnetonka. You will not be disappointed in the amazing homes that you see on there. So number 5, and the last topic you need to know on this list before moving to Minnesota, is going to be understanding Minnesota nice. So when I say Minnesota nice, it's not what people think. As Minnesotans, we don't really have a lot of transplants here. So we're not the type of nice that you can just be talking to at Target or walk up to at a bar and spark a 30-minute conversation. And a lot of times people who are new to Minnesota are wondering where all the nice people are because people aren't that friendly. And for the most part, they're actually kind of cold to strangers. But in my opinion, the Minnesota nice that you definitely need to understand and might even want to lean into is the type of nice that people are up here is like everyone's at a 4-way stop and everyone's waving for like 30 seconds straight and no one's willing to go, right? If you step on someone, you say sorry. That's the kind of nice that Minnesota is. We're very quick to lend a helping hand. We all know what it's like to get stuck in the snow or to have your car die in the middle of the winter. So for things like that, it always does feel like Minnesota is very communal and willing to help. So if you enjoyed this video and you live in Minnesota currently, please send this to one of your friends who doesn't live in Minnesota so we can get them back here living next to you. And if you're still on your Minnesota moving guide journey, I appreciate you guys for following and subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.